Excellent.
There we go. It is live.
A
Think.
good sneeze to start.
That looks like us. I'll fire it off on my Twitter too.
Let me get my tweet going.
Get the tweet going, gather some audience. So skip 10 seconds ahead, guys, while I tweet all this out.
Oh yeah, you know how the beginning of the show goes.
Yeah.
You know what type of time we on.
There we go. Boom, boom, boom. All right, that's all tweeted out. I have almost 7,000 people following me. 6,800 now.
Or 57. It says 56, 57.
56, 57. Well, it's one of those.
One of them.
We're not even sure anymore. Which one is this?
Yeah, let's see.
I feel as though it's 57, and I didn't write the word 7 in there, so I'll fix that.
All right. Yeah, it's definitely 57.
Definitely 57. We'll go up.
We count upwards, not downwards.
Fair enough. If things counting down, man, that's a whole scarier proposition.
What happens when we get to 0? Oh man, just our luck. That's when we get critical mass because everybody's like, "What are they gonna do? Like, what
are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
All right. So tweet it out. We are live. We have an insider threat to talk about over at my favorite car company.
Yeah, actually, you want to start with that one?
I think it's an interesting talk to go down on that one.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a super interesting one. Let me set up my scene here. I think I have permissions.
I gave you permission right at the beginning. We've at least figured out how to do that much with Zoom. We're not on mute, and I have permission. So
and no echo, I'm sure. You know how it goes. Smash that thumbs up button. I don't even think we introduced ourselves.
Oh, that's right.
We got to at least intro. We got to at least do the intro, man. We just got to drop the intro.
Yep. So Tom here with Orange Systems and
Xavier D. Johnson.
Yep.
And this is how they got hacked.
And someone said your mic's slow, so you might want to either move closer or bump it up.
I don't know. If I bump it up, shit gets a little squirrely. So I'm not
okay. I think you were just a little further away from it. That's all.
Yeah, probably.
Xavier got one of them fancy move up and down desks.
Yes, because I try and stand up as much as I can in the daytime. You know.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I need to make this full screen.
Standing in there.
There we go. Yeah, I'm really thinking about that standing up desk too. It's our lifestyle, our bodies have not adapted through evolution to sitting in front of a computer that much.
Yeah, I mean, sitting at the desk is just as bad as smoking a couple packs of cigarettes at this point.
Yeah, that's why I try to get out on my motorcycle. I try to get out on, ride my bicycle, get some exercise, do something, walk around.
I got to get some toys. I just take the dog for walks. That's
good too.
My main thing, but it's only like once a day. It's nothing crazy.
Yep. So let's talk about insider threat, which is hard to protect from.
One of the harder things to protect from, actually.
But
in this case,
I'm going to actually say, and this is something you brought up earlier, part of the protection might have been $1 million might not be worth as much if this guy has a lot of vested stock.
A worker in the Gigafactory, Nevada, ended up turning down $1 million incentive and decided to work closely with the FBI, thwarting a planned cybersecurity attack against the electric car maker. So unpersuade, and yes, I do believe that since Tesla is increasing in value, they may have picked the wrong person to try and actually to do this, right? So in my mind, I think that $1 million is not a whole lot of money when we're talking about Tesla.
You're talking about sabotaging a major company that you work at. This is something you will spend a lot of time in prison for. You will be you will never work in any industry. Someone's going to go, hey, your name, every time we Google it, this thing comes up.
It's you?
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, no, that's no good. So yeah, it looks like a criminal complaint was filed by the FBI Las Vegas field office, and it suggests that an attempted cybersecurity attack may be part of a well-financed, organized scheme. So it looks like a Russian-speaking non-U.S. citizen that works at Tesla at the Gigafactory was contacted by uh, our uh, our uh, our hacker, as we're going to call him. So I
Yeah.
don't know how to pronounce that. I want to be honest. Could you give it a shot?
I would say it's Khrushchev. Khrushchev,
Khrushchev?
maybe.
Khrushchev. All right.
I'm not good with names either. I'm barely
Yeah.
good at English ones.
I'm right there with you. But yeah, it seems like I mean, this all happened really, really fast, comparatively, from what looks like July 16th to about August 18th or 19th.
Yep.
All of this took place. So July 16th, this Russian citizen contacted the insider through WhatsApp, which is really interesting to me because WhatsApp is not like the most secure method of communication. Do Russians
No.
not have Signal?
I know. I always thought Russians, and I think we talked about this before, because they bent on it. They were trying to block Telegram, for example. So,
Mhm.
but WhatsApp, with it being owned by Facebook, it seems like it wouldn't be a problem for them to get a warrant. Now, WhatsApp allegedly has a way to add encryption, but no one does. And that's one of those, it's not on by default, which means it probably doesn't get turned on. Now, being that this is someone who's doing a cyber attack, maybe they did have encryption turned on, maybe they set up passwords on it. I still don't know the level of security a WhatsApp password provides versus a subpoena.
Right. So
It's still going through Facebook servers. The ability, because WhatsApp, someone may point out, does use the same protocol that Signal uses, but it's who's handling the keys. That's the real difference. Sure, I can build something really secure, but as long as a third party's doing my, has my keys and has some way to access them, it can be decrypted.
yeah. So in this event, the the hacker here decided to meet with this Tesla employee and some colleagues, which I'm not sure that I would just meet a stranger that just comes over from Russia randomly. And it looks like a trip to Lake Tahoe ensued, where, of course, this person declined. The hacker declines to be in any photos because who wants to be in photos?
Yeah.
Uh, when asked, why don't they want to keep this beautiful picture of this sunset? They said, I just remember the beauty of the sunset and did not need a photograph. that's that's really interesting. So it looks like there was going to be a network attack, DDoS, that would allow the Tesla security team to be a little bit busy, and then they would try and extract some corporate and network data, which they would hold ransom until Tesla decided to pay. And originally it was only a $500,000 gift that they wanted to pay
They
him.
bumped it up to $1 million.
Bumped it up to $1 million, cash or Bitcoin. Now, in my mind, $1 million cash is hard as shit to do anything with, and then $1 million Bitcoin is in a ledger. So, like, why are we still operating like it's 2012? Like, OPSEC is low all around. It's almost like this Russian person wants to get caught, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you have 500,000 to $1 million cash in US?
There's a lot of suspicion, but I actually think one of the bigger plot points here might be that you have that exfiltration of data. There is one of the things that I had tweeted out kind of jokingly was about Tesla lies. This was one of the people that spends a lot of time reverse engineering Tesla. They were saying anything Tesla releases a patent on and says, hey, here's our tech, is stuff they've already been using for a few years. All their good stuff is going into cars now. And that's why this guy has such a business just reverse engineering Tesla. So what I think they really wanted was the exfiltration of data. Ransom may have been a good cover, but I bet there is a lot of places that really want that data. They really want to see, the secret sauce that is in these Tesla cars that is making them that much better. Any advanced design information they can get, inside information to how Tesla operates and reverse engineer that. I think that's probably has a pretty big market value right now. And as shady as it sounds, I bet it's not even outside the U.S. The U.S. car companies would probably pay dearly to get access to that information.
I bet. And so the hacker seems to be like a typical hacker and wants to talk about all of the fruits and all of the cool things that he's done and worked on. So of course he decided to talk about how he just received over $4 million in ransom from a company, and come to find out that was CWT Travel. So these hackers are high profile already, making millions of dollars in Russia. And then it all kind of like falls through, right? So the FBI has already been notified, through Tesla. This person was working as a CI for the FBI to help arrest our hacker here. And yeah, it looks like this is the actual document.
Yep. You can read through the entire complaint, all the details from it.
Like
Now, it's kind of interesting because this was first only released and as a unnamed company in Nevada. So once this went public just yesterday, it turned out to be that unnamed company in Nevada was the Gigafactory that Tesla. So
yeah. So yeah, you can take the time to read that. I'm not going to read through the whole thing for you.
No. Legalese and indictments, unless they're involving me, I'm going to skip reading all the details. Hopefully they're never involving me. You don't want to ever have your name in one of those. I'm going to throw that out there.
It looks like hackers are leaking internal files of Chinese social media monitoring companies.
Yeah. This is kind of interesting too. It goes back to, the gold rush. It's not anything more than information, more than anything else. And who controls it, who has access to it, and knowledge intelligence system, NALSYS intelligence systems. Group of hackers have obtained internal files from 3 Chinese social media monitoring companies. And the Chinese being on the far end of both a very developed nation and authoritarian. That makes them kind of interesting. But the way they maintain their authority is, bending of information, obscuring of information. So this was kind of a dump of everything they're monitoring, how they're watching it. The Chinese have Tiananmen Square. All we had to do was say that, and now trust me, this video will not be shown in China now. And that's a very scary thought, the fact that a piece of history can be erased. That, if there's 2 billion people in China, and Tiananmen Square is common enough that I can say it, and many of you will go, oh yeah, I've heard of it, as a U.S. citizen, or even our European people that may be watching this, or people in Canada. But to think that you can't even say that inside of China, that's really interesting. And this is what they're monitoring, is looking for people to put up pages on anything that may be anti-government, anti of their party, anything that doesn't put the government in a good light. So they're really watching for a lot of this right now.
Yeah. Crazy shit.
Very crazy shit.
CCP unmasked. Of course, their Twitter is now taken down. They're the ones who actually are disclosing a lot of this leaked. I always feel like just about anything will get leaked. Always. There's always an insider that's willing to leak. It's just the motivation. So I'd imagine that this is definitely somebody insider trying to leaking this back out. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And there comes a lot of points where they rely. There is a resistance within China itself, because they've still had some civil unrest. Hong Kong being a big focal point of civil unrest. So
it seems like they're using social media as weapons. So that was a slide that was leaked from one of the presentations. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the 40 gigs that was dumped, or I would share.
Yeah. But it's still interesting. The flow of information, control of information, all of this is so key to it, because we're seeing the ransomware attacks, and now we're seeing everything elevated to the blackmail attacks that come with it, of letting people know what's going on. And
extortion, it turned to extortion very quickly.
It's rapid. Extortion's like just as a given part of it. I don't think it's in our show notes, but just to sum up Canon, for example, Canon had to pay, despite being able to, they had to pay for the extortion. And I think there was another university at that too. They actually had the ability to restore, like, we don't need the decryption keys, and they worked out a discount just to, they only needed the extortion part removed. So it's kind of a la carte services with these guys. Oh, we got a special just on extortion today. We'll only extort you for this much. It's a combo deal if you need the decrypting keys for these too.
Helps if you've already been attacked by us.
Yeah.
You have an ID that I can put into the system.
Yeah, it's definitely a big piece of it.
DeathStalker. I don't know that I know of the DeathStalkers. That's kind of interesting. But when we talk about hackers that are likely older, interesting, right? Like hacker for hire mercenaries that are likely older, named DeathStalker. I'm not 100% sure.
It's a little bit interesting when you start talking about the hacker for hire types, and we joke on this channel a lot about the bad OPSEC that occurs when you get caught, but you never knew the best criminals. The best criminals are the ones that don't leave anything more. Maybe we have some calling card or a name we can attach to them, but they're the elusive. Their OPSEC is tight. They didn't make those silly mistakes. They didn't use their driver's license on their Coinbase account. They're,
Right.
So these guys are out there, and there's trying to pick up the remnants of where these people are. This is where it gets a little scary. This is, in a way, some of the ransomware gangs are operating a lot like this too. They're very elusive as they keep getting better. And the mercenary for hire thing kind of caught my attention because this is something I believe goes on more than we know, and is going to be a growing industry as people have their OPSEC tight and do this. They're like, well, I can do this. I can go and target a company. I can exfiltrate the data you asked for.
Right.
And
Right.
it just made me think of a really interesting angle for a lot of this.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they're using modern techniques all the way back, as early as 2012. Things like PowerShell. That's a very modern way to attack. LNKs. I don't know if we talked about that, but that's something that is still extremely powerful and ongoing. I mean, used right now to this day. LNKs. If it wasn't for Smart Screen, most of the time LNKs would 100% be effective. So they also use something called dead drop resolvers, which I had to actually go look into. And a dead drop is actually featured in the MITRE ATT and CK framework. And so you can go dig into it a little bit. But long story short, it allows you to be able to kind of blend in, plain sight by using your keys and your commands that are encoded inside of post on Twitter or Google Plus or Gmail or whatever you want to use for your command and control. So interesting stuff.
One of the things I remember, God, if someone wants to Google this, you can find it, but look for hacks used in celebrity Instagrams. And that was one of the cooler dead drops they had used, where they were putting the command and control in the Instagram replies of celebrities. And the reason why you do that is because, well, let's say I'm doing some threat hunting. I'm trying to figure out where you're getting your command and control. If you went to a celebrity and read their Instagram, I would expect that to be an average end user expected behavior. So that's one of the reasons they use some of these really interesting, clever places like that to put them. You hide it in plain sight. As far as the people seeing the comments, they're like, there's gibberish comments of characters. The systems that are going around scraping Instagram is, creating its command and control and doing its thing. So very interesting.
Yeah, even using Reddit for command and control.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, evasion is getting pretty damn amazing.
So Evil Numb is what they're most recently being tracked about, and it seems like they're still using LNKs because if it ain't broke, why fix it? And it looks like it's just the same old type of malware. We aren't seeing anything that's extremely different. It's just that they've gotten back active. So
yeah,
and
they're able to run below the radar. That's the scarier ones.
They're advanced and persistent.
Yeah, and it's probably the sign of an older hacker as well. Someone who goes, "Yeah, I'm not the kid, sticking my license on Coinbase and bragging about it."
Right. Have you ever heard of the kittens?
The who?
The kittens.
Hmm.
So here, let me share my screen. See if I can't catch you up to speed. So the kittens are a group called Charming Kitten based out of Iran. So
Huh.
they have a very interesting kill chain here. So Charming Kitten, which was an espionage activist, espionage against activists and media outlets. And then it looks like they actually attacked it Clear Sky and created a fake Clear Sky site to phish uh, Jewish journalists. And I mean, they've just been nonstop kind of getting after it for the last 3 years as it looks. So I wanted to kind of dig into what it looks like when we do this threat hunting and we do this analysis and profiling of our adversaries. So as you can see, spear phishing link by WhatsApp. That's pretty interesting. Again, WhatsApp. Are we finding a common theme here?
Yeah.
Maybe we're using too much WhatsApp. Let's start not doing that.
It,
Uh,
people get used to those and just trust what comes across there. That's a big piece of it.
so what I like about this is they make this, a report. This is what the customer buys, right? So for all of our non-technicals, let's go directly to the executive summary. As you'll notice, it has time frames, customer names, and it underlines and makes bold all of the things that the executives will want to know immediately. In 2020, a new TTP was using emails and WhatsApp. They use fake LinkedIn profiles. They do phone calls between the victim and hackers. Um, there you go. So it's mostly malicious zips and phishing, it looks like, from what I can tell.
Yep.
So through just WhatsApp and LinkedIn, you're able to they seem to be able to do a pretty good job at phishing their customers and phishing their targets. As you can see, my mind is in engagement mode. My targets are typically my customers, so like I keep calling the victims of these attacks customers because
but
that's in
but
my
you were
mind.
asked by these customers in a form,
Right,
a legal way to test their security.
right,
So you're on the
exactly.
fine.
This is the reason why they're customers and not victims.
Right. Well,
But
I've heard
anyway,
the ransomware people call them customers too. I mean,
oh boy, 5 a.m.
technically
knocks.
true.
Here we go. Here we go. If my entire rack gets forensically collected in the next 30 days, I know why. Something about victims and ransomware. So we're just going to need to do a check.
Yep. We need to
Anywho,
talk about this.
they're using OSINT, so they're getting full list of participants, date and times for webinars, details from our webinars, to be able to produce a pretext that will actually compromise our victims, right? So making fake websites for them to log into, visit, making fake profiles for them to interact with, and it's just really really interesting. So they actually have a dump of uh, you know the whole entire conversation over the 4 days of what looks like attacker and victim. They're not going to give us names, but some doctor. So you can kind of see, hey, may I have a minute of your time? I'm blah 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 from here, dear doctor. I'm blah 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 from here, dear doctor. Right?
Yep.
So like this is really suspicious. On the third day, dear doctor, hi Aldo, what is this about? The doctor says, dear doctor, first I have to thank you for sharing your time with me. So everything starts with the dear doctor, right? And that's really sketch. Please provide details. Many thanks. Dear doctor, we have about 114 participants. This is the pretext, right? So they're charming this person into believing that all is well. And they're persistent, as you can see over a period of days. And I mean, anybody that's in our business would notice that on the ninth day, they used the exact same script that they used on the fourth day.
Yep.
So this is starting to look like just somebody sitting behind the keyboard with some copy and paste skills, not doing anything too special. And yeah, that kind of like you kind of get to see and decompose exactly what this phishing actually looks like. Of course, they're making fake websites, clear sky security without what security spelled wrong. It looks like,
Yeah.
so right. Embedding a phishing format on an imposter domain. That's just not their domain. They're clearskysec.com,
Got it.
not clearskysecurity.net. So that's interesting.
Easy enough, though. Then it brings them in there, sign into your Outlook, sign into your Apple, pull the image, fish them.
Yep. This is just kind of a decomposition of what these advanced persistent threats actually do, how they build the pretext, how they leverage the tools that you use on a day-to-day that you trust, like LinkedIn.
And it's that simple.
Here,
That's the part that I think people don't realize is these are effective. I did a video just the other day about a client that had a phishing email that they got that I can't remember the context of it because one of my other staff looked at that. But either way, it was tempting. It was tempting to that particular person because it seemed relevant. This is common with like the invoice attachment emails. This is common with, in this case, hey, we'd like you to speak at this event. The different things. Like that. So it's almost simple. You just play into the human condition of seem interested in them, seem interested in their research, and get them to sign up, sign in, and away you go. You've got their credentials.
Yeah. Did you hear about the New Zealand stock exchange hack?
They've been attacked a couple times, I heard. Got knocked down, didn't they?
Yeah, it got knocked down. I'm not sure if they ever came back up. But it looks like for the fourth day, they were at least disrupted. And there's no clarity as to who are behind these attacks. Nobody's claiming responsibility just yet. So DDoS for one. So that means that somebody's got a really big angry botnet. And they're like forcing this New Zealand exchange to actually halt trading. So it's huge.
Something that's really interesting because getting them to halt trading, it's quite a DDoS because these systems are generally resilient against them.
Oh, yeah.
That's what my friend does over at like Arbor Networks. He mitigates, especially in the financial industries, large-scale DDoS attacks. And it's interesting all the things they do to mitigate it, but it's crazy that this one's so prolific that it can't be mitigated easily. And not to mention shutting down the stock exchange, man, people are going to go after you. You don't mess with the money.
And this is a single point of failure problem because the issue that they're having is they have what they're calling a global gateway. And this global gateway just looks like one IP, like all of the logging is coming from behind the gateway. So now all of the logs just have the gateway IP address in it. Whereas if you did censoring either on the gateway or in front of the gateway, you'd be able to actually see originating IPs. So the failure is really in their global gateway, which is why they're able to know that it originated offshore, but they can't identify where it's originating from because of that configuration. And this kind of like you just did something with your PF Sense, tying it into your security onion for kind of that same level of clarity, right? Like that's, I don't have visibility onto my gateway even. I just put my gateway into bridge mode so that everything goes to my firewall. But if I had a gateway that was enabled in routing, then I wouldn't be able to see that traffic either, right? So it's, those small little things in your network could be the difference between being able to easily mitigate by blacklisting a number of IP addresses and just getting slammed because you can't turn off the gateway and you can't just change your static IP.
And something I've not looked into in a long time is, and New Zealand being an example of this, is exactly how they get their provisioned internet. So when you look at some of the other countries, US being a hub for it, there's so many different routes to get to different places, even in other countries. And you take any of the European markets and they have really well-developed infrastructure. New Zealand has approximately 5 million people. That's a city for us here. That's some of our big cities. So how much redundancy have they invested in for a population of only 5 million? It may not be that robust. So that choke point of only having a couple connections coming in and out probably makes this attack easier to shut them down. They don't have the pipe we have. So they may have great interconnectivity amongst those 5 million people, but at some point, I'm going to assume closest hop is Australia. That's probably where their next hop is. And that's just going to be a limiting size of internet that comes there.
That's really interesting. Just think about a DDoS that's affecting the trading. Now, what if you're doing futures trading, or what if you're doing foreign exchange trading, right? Like spot currency trading. You could set up to go big that day. Like, okay, well, I'm going to do spot trades at $100 a trade for the next 40 minutes. You might make a killing just because you know for a fact that NZX is going to come in lower because they may not either A, they can't get fresh data, they got stale data,
Yep.
or B, they're crashing for whatever reason. You've created some disruption in the market that's driving down the price because people can't buy it on demand.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of that is, too, you have someone with an external sat link understanding the market. Hell, they could do it over a phone call. Hey, give me the numbers. We're shut down here. Someone else can do those orders. Hey, they don't know the futures data, so that's why they kind of have to stop the stock market. But you put an order in that gets processed because you realize there's a trend going up or down that you bet for or against. You set the trends. You understand what the market's doing by a physical phone call, literally, to get out of the country while they DDoS and shut down the actual exchange. There's all kinds of angles for money that could be played on this and make it lucrative.
Shit. And that's that's nation state level shit. Like that's the kind of thing that I could see a North Korea doing.
Oh yeah, okay, it's a great way for them to leverage and make money on that market.
Fuck yeah, it is. Right, and it's in their time zone.
It's in their time zone, and there's a lack of risk to them because if you caught them, what are you going to do? Sanction the sanctioned nation? Like they have no risk. That's right. Anytime you have
trading with us. Oh, I forgot.
Right. Anytime you have a situation where someone has nothing to lose, that's where they get to be the scariest. You backed them into a corner, and this is kind of where we're at. North Korea is a very dark area that is cut off from the world. What are you going to do to them? And it's not likely we're going to go to physical attacks on them, at least not anytime soon, because that doesn't, you know what I mean? Right. It's hard enough to get attribution to really say it was them. So they're going something that can make them money and has a very low risk of consequences at the moment. So yeah. And getting attribution is still really hard to prove we did it type thing. There's not like God. There's clear evidence.
The proof thing is so hard. And like, speaking of proof, like the ransomware operators, we still haven't seen any of this come to head yet. But we do see them actually moving and changing and growing and doing new things. SunCrypt becomes the newest hotspot, as I like to call it. People are actually spending a lot of time understanding the relationship between SunCrypt and the Maze, what we're now calling the Maze cartel. Because apparently it's a few different families of ransomwares that have gotten together to get some money.
And so cartel's a good name.
Yeah, cartel is a damn good name for it. IT ransomware, I haven't gone here to play with this just yet, but you could actually upload the ransom note and it'll probably or upload a sample encrypted file or upload email addresses that you've been given, and it'll help you identify what the ransom is that you're up against. So I mean, the $$ ransomware, I haven't heard of that one yet. Angry Duck, I haven't heard of that one yet. Cream Pie, I'm not even that. We just got demonetized immediately. And we got the F Society malware. It's pretty crazy, actually.
Medusa Locker, at least I've seen that.
Dude, Medusa Locker. So the ones that are in bold seems to be the ones that are doing the most damage. Anywho, looks like this ransomware family began operating in October 2019, but they joined the cartel some point after that. And it seems like Maze, remember we were reporting earlier that Maze was looking for operators that had their own infrastructure and had unique stubs that could come and and add onto their capabilities. This was about like last December, we talked about this, and you can kind of see that this is what happened, right? So this was we kind of saw this coming. What I like though is that now all it takes is one of these ransomware groups to have one person that wants to leak, and we immediately start to have the resources that Maze would share amongst its members. So um, it looks like, of course, we're using PowerShell to install ransomware, and this is a highly obfuscated. So, I mean, I hate to sound this way, but this is all it takes to bypass Microsoft Defender, right?
Yeah.
Just change all of this to googly gap and make it mean something, right? Remember what all of the functions mean. I have no idea what language that is. That's interesting. And they've made everything extremely functional, like extremely functional, down like to like the micro function level. This is a 123,000 line PowerShell script. So it ain't a tiny script by no means. So yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah, when the ransomware executes, it connects back to that IP. This IP is a huge clue to what services the Maze threat actors actually provide. So it seems that maybe the Maze threat actors provide the command and control and all of the hosting, and the actual ransomware groups worry about the spreading and the uniqueness, setting the rates, etc. So we still don't really have an extreme, clear understanding of how this all works just yet. But I think we're getting a higher propensity. So, we're getting really, really close to having people that are going to either get caught and rat, or things will just get leaked from other hackers hacking. Like the market is getting too big. Anytime the market gets this level of big and you get these huge brand names, people start to get really curious and start going after it. Who's to say that Sun ransomware group isn't the feds? Like, how do you vet them out? Yeah, they have the latest and greatest, and they're like elite, and the shit's so good. And well, wouldn't that mean that they have Fed-like capabilities, right? Like in that game, like how do you weigh out your friends and foes? So I think that it's a matter of time before one of these links break. You're only as strong as your weakest link. When it's just you can get away with shit. Well, now that you've involved and you've made a cartel, we know what happens with cartels. Rats.
Yep. And you get a lot coming down on you. I mean, you look at the Tesla attack we started with here. Once again, we know this is part of a larger criminal enterprise. They have the money to send people somewhere to negotiate with briefcases full of cash. And this is
still not sure how they get $500,000 to $1 million in US cash. And you like, how do you do that? Like you get harassed for having $9,999.
Yeah.
Like you get harassed for having just under 10K.
Yeah. There's a lot of play here, and it's going to be a big game. I mean, it's there's big money involved. This is, when we first started this show 57 episodes ago, we talked about all this ransomware. Now we're ramping it up, and the numbers got to be like, oh, they're charging 100,000. Isn't it unbelievable? Now they're like 4.5 million.
4.5 million was my last one. Like, whoa, yeah. Your last one. Okay.
Yeah. Oh. And the Garmin one, 10 million. So.
And we still don't even know what Travelex cost.
Nope, we still don't know how much that one costs.
As far as I know, I have to go research that and figure out exactly what came of that.
Yeah, it's ramping up to be a credible, mega enterprise
now. Speaking of mega enterprise, you told me about this company today, and I don't know too much about them. I'll let you have this one.
So, all right, Konica Minolta. If you haven't heard of them, they make copiers, but they also got into the IT business. And so they're a big $9 billion a year business. And it started with an outage on July 30th, reporting that Konica Minolta's product support site was not accessible, displaying an outage. Now, where this gets a little bit interesting, we'll read a little bit further down. The site remained down for most of a week. Konica Minolta printers were also displaying service notification failed error, which led to Konica Minolta to update their outage message to link to a support document. So all these different systems started failing, and these systems, essentially all these copiers, do report back to the corporate. There's another side of this. One of my friends works there. So first, they were in the dark. They had no idea because corporate would not tell them what happened. And he specifically worked the IT side to help manage customer stuff, doing SIM notifications and security. He's a security analyst. He knew something was really wrong. They were in total denial of it. And but the other piece of inside information, he says, yeah, he goes, this isn't going well because this is basically, he broke down some details of how things work internally. He creates notices, he tells it to IT ignores them and says, yeah, we know, we've marked it as quit complaining about this. There was kind of a culture problem they had in there. The other problem is how they built their IT out, as I understood. And granted, this is from someone letting me know some of this that has an axe to grind because he's not happy about the situation there, that basically that they bought all these smaller IT companies and built the mega IT company. So they also bought whatever problems for each company they acquired. And that kind of probably led to, he doesn't know the exact nature of how they got in, but he goes, he's seen enough around the culture saying, yeah, it's not surprising to me that they got in.
Yeah, you just click a couple links here, move laterally here, there, beachhead for about 4 or 5 months, learn how the backups work, learn where the data flows, ransomware.
Yep. And then the company was in complete denial. The corporate people were denying all of it. Oh, no, there was no ransomware. We're just having a problem with our VPN. He's like, yeah, I can't get to any customer data, so I can't do my job. And then what got even more scarier to him, everything was always, because everyone was work from home, everything was VPN in and access customer data. They started standing everything up without a VPN so he could access it. That was their temporary mitigation so he can get customer work done, but they wouldn't ever answer the question as to why. And he says, this is kind of terrifying that they even said because he would VPN and then jump into client stuff, they started getting his home IP address and putting it in customer networks so he could get to endpoint systems and start doing it. Yeah. He's like, he goes, boy, if customers knew, and it's just crazy, all the steps of everything that was going on. And he's like, he goes, this is suspicious. I think they got attacked. We and him were talking about it because I think my company's got hosed. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, I found it interesting. And he found out for certain on Bleeping Computer. And they have their morning meetings. So it was the first thing he brought up to the morning meeting, and they immediately told him, we can't talk about that. He goes, it answers the questions you guys have been dodging for the last fucking week.
Ouch.
Yeah, he says he just wanted to be a dick and drop it in there. He's like, so let's what about this Bleeping Computer? I heard our company got hacked. What do you guys know about this? Coincides with the VPN broke a week ago.
It was a little bit more than the VPN broke.
Yep. So it's really interesting. It also showed me the interesting compartmentalized nature of some of the things that go on at some of these corporate companies, where someone who worked and had a lot of indicator information was also in the dark. Now, granted, he focused mostly on customer stuff, not internals, but he did know the internal team who also just shut up real quick, but still not sharing any information and having some form, because this compromised customer information that then was his responsibility, but you're not telling about it. So how do I convey that to customers? So there's the chaos inside is very sketch real quick.
Yeah, that gets icky really, really fast.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't know the details of exactly how they get in, but they did. They got hosed, and it's another probably spear phishing. I mean, this is whaling campaigns because these are not small companies. When you talk about Konica, Canon, these are big $1 billion, $10 billion a year. That's not your average company. We know they're going after the small companies. That just doesn't make the news anymore. The fact that they're getting in these big companies is where things get scary. And of course, that's where we start using the word cartel, because that's where the big money is and extracting money from those companies.
Huge money.
Huge. Well, you've sat through another episode of me and Xavier ranting about cartels and ransomware.
Yeah. Oh man, if we come up missing, you know why?
Yeah.
They know too
Brian
much.
Krebs.
They know too much.
We know too much.
We get added onto the list like Brian Krebs.
Yep.
Anyway, it's been amazing. I'm about to go prepare. Today's my birthday, so I'm about to go do
yep. Happy birthday, Xavier. So
appreciate it. Yep. So I gotta go get ready for, I don't know, some outdoor activities.
Get some exercise, enjoy your birthday, have some fun.
Fuck yeah.
So we'll see you guys probably next week. We try to keep this consistent, try to keep it happening. I didn't look. Is it raining again? I'm gonna look at the cameras.
I hope not. Shit.
I don't know, but it looks like it's raining, not hard, but it is.
It's a 30% chance on my side of town, so we'll see how it goes.
It is here, but me and Xavier are not in the same place. We're not far from each other.
Not far, but in Michigan, the weather changes from city to city.
Yeah. It looks like it's supposed to be cleared up a little bit, but not much.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll wait and see how that goes. Wow. That's a big fucking storm system just going across the Michigan. I'm just... So, all right, we're going to go face the weather. Thank you for everyone who smashed that like button, who joined us, and who's watching this not live. So we greatly appreciate you, and thanks. Peace.
Awesome. Peace.